Open access. Access to your thesis or dissertation that is digital, online, free of charge, and free of most licensing restrictions. Understanding it is critically important to your work, regardless of whether you go into academia after graduation. Here's what will happen to your dissertation once you submit it. We will deposit it into our institutional repository, and we will make it freely downloadable unless there's an embargo on it, which you can request, and in which case we'll make your thesis downloadable once the embargo expires. It is not possible to embargo a thesis forever. These policies are no different from the policies we've always had for paper theses and dissertations. But of course, digital availability feels, and in some ways is, different from paper availability. That is open access, and that's why you need to understand the concept and its implications for you. What follows is a very high-level overview. I'll include suggestions for further reading in the video. I gave you the definition of open access, or OA, at the beginning. It's access to scholarly literature that is all of these things. Most copyright and licensing restrictions, because attribution is pretty much always a requirement, and there may be other requirements too. This definition isn't mine, it is Peter Suber's. He has worked on issues surrounding open access for many years and has written a book about it that I've been recommending. It's a very quick and clear read, and if you don't feel like purchasing it, the entire text is available for free at this URL. OA speaks to what knowledge is available to you, the researcher, and to other researchers in your field. The open access movement arose in part as a response to the scholarly publishing crisis of the last few decades. The full picture is complicated, but in a nutshell, there are four major stakeholders in the scholarly communication lifecycle. They're all interrelated in uneasy ways. Authors and libraries need publishers for vetting and dissemination of content. Publishers and libraries need authors to produce content. And authors and publishers need libraries to act as consumers and curators of publications. And the university depends on input from the scholarly publishing ecosystem into the hiring, promotion, and tenure processes. Again, the whole picture is complicated, but here are some things to think about. The research leading to publication is paid for mostly by nonprofit entities, and that publication is executed mostly by for-profit entities. Knowledge production has risen exponentially. These days, around 1.6 million scholarly articles are published and many more written every year. Since around 1985, journal pricing has shot up about 4 times as fast as the U.S. Consumer Price Index. Libraries have begun to drop needed journal subscriptions for no reason other than financial. And if Harvard says it can't afford everything it needs, and it is saying that, you know the picture is grim worldwide. This situation has played havoc with monograph purchasing budgets for academic libraries everywhere, and BU is not immune. There's been a significant consolidation of publishing power, and the big 3 academic publishers post huge profit margins. But it is also important to separate the issues. Even if journal prices stopped rising, and even if library budgets stopped being slashed, there is no sustainable way for the consumers in the current system to keep up with the rate at which new knowledge is produced. Open access is part of the answer to this crisis. It brings some significant advantages for authors, foremost among them being exposure. Your work and your name get out there. Open access increases citation rates. And it also creates serendipitous opportunities for collaboration and presentations, the likes of which are hard to come by any other way. If you're interested to read more of what people in higher ed have been saying about open access, a good publication to check out is the Chronicle of Higher Education. Go to this URL, log in if prompted, and search the site for open access, and also open access dissertations. Specifically with regard to open access theses and dissertations, here are 2 other recent articles I'd recommend. Both of them are in the College and Research Libraries publication. BU is participating in the open access movement in several different ways, one of them being we are putting a great most of the university's theses and dissertations online. We are currently digitizing all BU's theses from the beginning of the university up through at least 1963, after which copyright issues get a little more complex. That's over 12,000 theses. And we are archiving and making new theses and dissertations accessible digitally online as well.